Thank you, Brother Bilal, for that episode on healthy fats. Interesting discussion and seeing the outcome of the food. So now we have our Ramadan etiquettes, and alhamdulillah, we have Sister Masuma Jafar joining us once again. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
How's your fasting going?
Alhamdulillah, good.
Good. I'm sure, mashallah, inshallah, God is blessing you with lots of barakah. And thank you for joining us on these busy nights. Obviously, everyone has hectic lives, and so today we're going to be speaking about the importance of reciting Qur'an and why we recite it and the benefits we get from it. So firstly, why should somebody recite Qur'an?
Because they're the words of Allah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only thing that we know 100% is actually authentic. These are the words of Allah, not changed at all.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that when God tells the Holy Prophet, say, he actually says, say. So he says it word perfect. It's not even been changed even that little bit. And if I love Allah, I would want to know what he says. It is a book of guidance for us. It is a book that allows me to connect to my Creator. And the peace that I feel when I'm reciting it, it's unbelievable.
So really beneficial to your soul, guidance, lessons in life. And often actually people will say, yes, the Qur'an is 1400 years ago. Yes, there are lessons from the prophets, but they don't apply to us. And that's quite interesting, I find, because often you will see the ramifications still in our lives today. So the stories of Prophet Yusuf, the betrayal of the families, and and how Prophet Yunus has that separation. All these things, we have.
Yeah, for sure.
There's so many things that we can actually relate to, can't we? So in this holy month, somebody can't do, obviously it's recommended to do the whole Qur'an, and mashallah, some people can even recite more than one once they do it. What are the spiritual benefits of, even reciting one verse?
So we have hadith that says that, in this month, if you recite one verse, it is as if you recited the whole Qur'an.
Wow, what a mercy.
Can you imagine? Yeah. It's like, why wouldn't you want to just take time out to recite it? But I think, also, life does go on. People can't sort of take the whole month off. So don't beat yourself up about it. Maybe use this as a way of bringing the family together. So maybe sort of between all the family members recite the whole Qur'an rather than reciting it on my own.
That's mashallah,
so if you've got
nice,
5 people in the family, you can all do 6 juz each, and that's doable.
That's
if you're
lovely.
working and things. So, you're not only connecting to Allah, but you're connecting with the family as well to Allah. And I think that's beautiful. When you worship together as a family, it brings you closer together as a family.
Definitely, yeah. That's a beautiful recommendation, to not feel that you have to. And so, for those that Arabic isn't their mother tongue, is it okay to just recite the Arabic, or should we be reading the translation as well? How would you recommend?
So the Qur'an is only the Qur'an in Arabic.
Yeah.
So it's really important that we do actually recite the Holy Qur'an in Arabic. But obviously it's a book of guidance. Now, if I don't understand what it's telling me, then how can it guide me? So it's really important that I not only recite it, but I reflect on it, because Allah constantly is telling us in the Holy Quran, why do they not reflect? So I don't want to be one of those who does not reflect. And reflection is not tafsir. A lot of people are scared to reflect because they think it's doing tafsir of the Holy Quran, and we don't have the knowledge to do tafsir.
Right.
In fact, there's a hadith from the Holy Prophet which says that if someone does tafsir from their own self with no knowledge or anything, then there will be a seat reserved for him in the fire of hell. But reflection is not tafsir, and I think that's really, really important to understand. Reflection is where I read a verse, I look at its translation if I don't know the Arabic, and I just contemplate on what God is telling me personally.
To build that relationship then with God, personally.
And the beauty of it is, because the Quran directly talks to each one of us, dependent on our situation, that same verse, when I look at it today and reflect on, will have a different meaning to when I look at it maybe in a year's time or in 10 days' time when my situation has changed.
SubhanAllah, it's so true, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's so beautiful, but we don't get, get that benefit because we're so focused on reciting, and reciting is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. It's a very important thing, but that should not be our only focus. We should reflect, And then also, in order to actually understand the deeper meaning, actually look at the tafsir that we have, which have been written by the scholars who have knowledge. So it's really important. And I suggest that we do the reflection before the tafsir, because when we do the reflection after the tafsir, then it guides us, it narrows down our reflection, because now we think we have to think this way.
Right.
Whereas it's
you need
more,
to expand your...
Yeah, so just allow the Qur'an to talk to you, talk to your heart, talk to your soul. Not go into the Qur'an with any preconceived ideas, with no sort of, you know, this is what I believe and therefore the Qur'an should, you know, give me proof to that. Rather just allow it to talk to you.
But I think it sounds like the prerequisite of it really to speak to your soul and your heart. It's the clearance of your heart, the sincerity, the genuine communication. You want Allah to speak to you.
Exactly.
Because otherwise, if you know, I could just imagine people. You know, you've obviously written awful things about, you know, I was thinking about Salman Rushdie's book, that they want to misinterpret something, they can actually come up with something very, very deviated.
And the Qur'an itself says that those who have perversity in their hearts, the Qur'an will actually increase the perversity. So if you go in with preconceived ideas, then yes, it won't benefit you. It's a matter of allowing Allah to talk to you through His words.
And I think it's so beautiful what you said, because I think some people may think, well, am I worthy of God talking to me? What have I done? And yet He says, call upon me and I will answer you. But that's what you're saying, isn't it?
And I think, you know, the sad thing is, you know, when we have the Qur'an, we treat it with respect, and of course we should. But it's not disrespectful for me to make notes. It's not disrespectful for me to put, like, you know, my sort of sticky notes where I actually make, because that's me using it.
Absolutely.
If you know, if a Qur'an looks used, then that means it's actually, I've taken it on, and I've you know, it's like if you have a letter that's been sent to you by your beloved. You know, you keep opening it, you keep reading it, and it will look used. It won't look, you know, like a lot of us, we just keep the Qur'an on the top shelf, and you know, we're so concerned about respecting it that we don't actually use it. Using it is not disrespect. If anything, not using it is disrespect.
Absolutely. I remember going on Zahra once, and this lovely sister who, mashallah, teaches, you know, the Zohar, and she had brought along her Qur'an, and it had so many sticky notes in it and all these pages, and I just sat in awe thinking, mashallah, you know, her relationship, you could tell just by those sticky notes. And you think, subhanallah, how Allah, you know, puts a light in people's heart to enable them to open up and actually, you know, receive that guidance from Allah. So we've got the holy nights coming up, Laylatul Qadr. Is that one of the most important things to do, is to sit and the reflection of because obviously we're told reflect. So would you say one of the best deeds would be to recite maybe Qur'an and reflect upon those verses?
It is a very highly recommended deed to do. Again, we've been given specific surahs for those nights. So we have Surah Ankabut, Surah Rum, Surah Dukhan. So maybe before the nights, if we can actually look at the translation of those surahs, reflect on them, look at the tafsir of those surahs. There's a lot of commonality between the three surahs. So again, you know, there's a specific reason those three surahs have been chosen, because the whole of the Qur'an is beautiful. Every surah in the Qur'an
Could you
has a
elaborate on
message.
that point, just for our viewers, in terms of, to say somebody doesn't understand that, how are they connected? How would you, in your sort of understanding?
So there's lots of, I mean, like for example, all three surahs talk about the signs of Allah, and you know how we should reflect on the signs of Allah, because that will bring us closer to Him. They all talk about the difference between a believer and an unbeliever. So there's lots of different things, and again, each one has its own separate message. So for example, Surah Ankabut talks about you know, the spider's web and how much time he spends making that, but how fragile it is. And again, it brings it back to our life. How much time do we spend in this world, you know, making our lives for this world, and yet it's all going to go.
It's going to go. So
you know, when we die, none of this matters. It's what we take on to the next world that matters. So, you know, Surah Rum, which talks about, you know, the prophecy of the Romans defeating the Persians, no one thought at that time that would happen. So again, even though we think something's never going to happen, it's impossible, God can make it happen. So, you know, even the specific messages that are in those surahs, the commonality that are in those surahs, there's so much to learn from it. It's just literally just sitting there and just making your notes on these surahs, so that you're actually prepared for this. This is the most important night. The night of Laylatul Qadr is the most important night of your whole year. Why would we not prepare? You know,
and no guarantee for next year, is there?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
There are people who were with us last year and No,
and
this
it's not
year.
even the fact that, you know, it's preparation for someone else. It's preparation for my own self. I have a say in my destiny for that year.
Yeah.
God's allowing me to have a say. Why would I not want to have that say?
Yeah.
And
do
the
the
more I
best.
connect to the Quran, the more I connect to Allah, because it's through His words that I'll connect to Him. I'll understand Him more. I'll understand what what He requires from me for my own self.
Right.
So it's not even the requirement He wants because He benefits, but because for my own self,
Yeah.
for me to reach my potential, my perfection, so that when I actually meet Him, you know, I'm ready for that meeting.
I'm the best version I can be
Exactly.
of myself. So you've said, mashallah, brilliant advice. Before the nights of Qadr, read those surahs and prepare.
And Surah Qadr as well, obviously, to understand the benefit of this night.
And benefit, and then learn, absorb perhaps what the messages are, so that on the night, one of the most recommended acts of worship are to recite those surahs. So actually sit and recite those if we can.
But when you're reciting it with understanding.
With understanding,
with a much deeper understanding, having reflected on those. Because again, we've got to remember that the nights are really, really short.
Yeah.
So we've got to ensure that we get the maximum out of these nights. So if I sit there and try to look at the translation on the night,
right, yeah, you're not going to have time unless you're on the other side of the world and obviously have a benefit of a longer night. So, and then also as the Qadr nights go, then we've still got the 7 days, or have the even days that some people do, mashallah, 10, the all odd nights, and they're doing ibadah. But we've still got to carry that on, haven't we?
Yes.
So what would be your tips as a final message to sort of
I think it's beautiful how God's put the night of Qadr on, not at the beginning of the month, where you think you're the strongest because you're not weak, you have just started fasting, because it's not about the body, it's about the soul. Okay, and usually when you think about like an exam, it's at the end of the year, so it's not at the end of the month.
So true, yeah.
Okay, it's actually coming towards the end, but you have the sort of 7 nights after it. Okay, and I've been thinking about this and reflecting on it, and I think it's beautiful because by the time you've gone sort of 3/4 into the month, your soul is spiritually, stronger. It's more connected to Allah, so you're ready for this amazing night. Okay, once you've had this amazing night where you've actually thought about what you want going forward, and you make resolutions, and it's about reconnecting to Allah, reevaluating your life, prioritizing things, making sort of resolutions on what you're going to do, then you have the 7 nights in order to implement those resolutions, bring them into your life so you can see how it's brought in, because you're still in the month of Ramadan. So you're still, you've still got the barakah of the month, you've still got shaitan locked up, you're still on that training ground where it's much easier to implement those changes. Then, because you've implemented them in those 7 nights, then you can continue once the holy month finishes, because now it's easier to continue something you've already started, rather than trying to start it when the holy month isn't there.
Yeah, so make it habitual, and then inshallah we continue after the holy month. Thank you
Inshallah.
so much once again. Time's flown by.
Thank
and
you.
I've really benefited, and inshallah so have our viewers. Thank you so much once again, and inshallah we will see you soon.
Inshallah. Thank you.
And next up we have our own little Abbas. So cute. And he's going to be giving us a daily hadith.